Hail, hail, the Celts are here. You might have had to double check it because we've not been here for a wee while, but we are here.
Yeah.
and as ever, we're here for a wee bit of Sorare Supporters Club, Celtic Supporters Club, here on the Celts Are Here channel. And I am Quinny, and as ever, I'm joined by MacBrideAce. MacBride, hail, hail, my man. Good to see you.
Hail, hail. I've got the new home top on, which I do admit is actually much better than last season's. Big fan. Never got a sponsor on it as well. Anyway, but it looks good. I'm not going to stand up because nobody wants to see my beer belly at this time on a Thursday night. But it's a good strip. I think I made a much better job of it this season. So it's good. And we've not been talking about Celtic for a while, so kind of missed that a wee bit. So it's good to catch up and see what's happening.
Keep that Guinness keg to yourself. You can say that again. But yeah, no, it all looks good, mate. And even sitting there, like one of the things that like
that stuff. Like it's a really good. It's got detail on it and stuff. So
it is a bit of a plain Jane, but when you seen the pictures and even seen it on you there, and like the collar and the shoulders, it looks proper. Oh, you need to get a bit of that, don't you? You need to get that on it.
I'm not going to sing a song or anything, but we will be looking forward to the Champions League draw because we're in there and we're in automatically. So.
And then automatically, and it's really just like a fixture draw more than anything. It'll be weird actually thinking about it. The draw, it won't be like pots and groups and stuff. It'll just be who you playing at home, you know. Oh, who you playing away. It'll be interesting. But before we get to the Champions League, it's kind of the point of the show tonight is there's been some transfer activity, or I reckon a lack of, or maybe some wild goose chases and a few other things in between. And we're basically here just to get up to speed, just so we're keeping our finger on the pulse. And here on the channel, we're talking about the comings and goings, the moves, the shakes, or maybe the wild goose chases and the clickbait headlines and everything else in between. But there's not actually been anything done since last we were on in terms of concrete signings kind of in. But we might be close to our first outgoing, which kind of half prompted us to get together tonight. And it looks like Hyeon-gyu is going to be leaving Celtic for a reported, I don't know if it's pounds or euros, but £3.5 million to Genk, which is one that's definitely caught us by surprise.
Yeah, I was going to say that if you were going to talk about incomings, then we should just stop the stream now and we could just walk away and just go and get Guinness or a tea or whatever. But no incomings yet, but plenty of rumours. I think the thing we owe, that doesn't surprise me at all. I mean, he didn't feature under Rodgers for pretty much whole of the second half of the season, so did he go away to the Asian Games? I don't know, maybe he did, maybe he didn't. Even if he didn't really play for Celtic, so it's not a surprise, and I think it's good business as well. Everybody, including us, maybe sort of almost slags off the transfer business, and we've spent quite a lot of money on guys and maybe they've not come to fruition, but this is one of the main advantages of buying guys when they're a bit younger or seen as a decent talent, because you can move them on and you can get a fee back. So I mean, if we can get that amount of money for him, if Rodgers doesn't have him in his plans, I think that's excellent business. And also I think he'll do very well there as well. No, that's not really of any interest to Celtic fans, but if you're watching this and you're playing Sorare, if he gets in up top for Genk, then that's a right good move, for fantasy football purposes. But good to see that we're managing to get some guys back out the door. Maybe we could just give him a 2-for-1 and take James McCarthy as well.
Well, that would be handy if we could do that. But yeah, I totally agree with you. I think this is the silver lining to the transfer business that, like we did last year when we've been chatting about this on the channel. Like, part of, if you need to be able to move in the transfer market the way that the teams we want to compete against do, you need to have a stock of players, that you somewhat improve their situation. One of the key centre backs we've been linked to, it was on loan at Salzburg last year. Maybe talk about him when we're on tonight. But for example, we signed in January 2023 for 2.8 million euros. And since that time, he's caught 10 caps for South Korea, whereas beforehand, he'd only had one senior cap and one youth tournament kind of experience under his belt. So although he hasn't featured prominently for us, if you are just to look at his career path, like 2 seasons in Scotland, he's averaged a goal in every 3 appearances, a lot of them from the bench in his first season. And then in his second season, 20 appearances, a lot from the bench, 5 goals. So like on paper, profiling, statistics, scouting, all that kind of thing, he's definitely like, obviously fee wise, we're about getting out of it with a profit if they've picked him up for 3.5 million, 4 million. But be able to, get a few transfers in like that, you need to be getting guys that have a wee bit of room to grow. And if they don't work out for you, you can still convince someone else it might work out for them and try and get an actual decent fee for them. Unlike Albi and Ajeti and Vasilius Barkas, for example, where we just couldn't get a fee for some of these guys and you have to just cut them off.
Yeah, I think it can go badly wrong. There's no doubt about it. You flip that over. Adam Ida wasn't getting a game for Norwich. And when we were less than impressed when we were talking about this in the January version of this show, where I think deja vu, but not actually getting guys in. We were talking about how this was just, we'd looked up our contacts book and we found somebody and we were going to sign him. And he turned out to be an absolutely brilliant loan signing if that's all that we get out of him. But I'd like to see him come back. So, it just shows like sometimes maybe we write off guys who are in the periphery of the squad or whatever, not done so well, or a bit of bad form, and we think, oh yeah, that's them done or whatever. But that's not always the case. Sometimes guys can revive their career, improve. And again, the advantage of having young guys, sometimes that experience brings them on a bit as well, Matt O'Reilly's had a brilliant season. Actually really seems to be thriving under Brendan Rodgers as well. So, for that point of view, it's good to have that sort of profile in the squad and winners as well, because, when you've got guys who are younger, the problem is inconsistency, or maybe guys who can't handle the big pressure of playing for a team that's expected to win the trophies that they're competing for. And, we've delivered all that stuff. So yeah, I mean, good luck to him if he goes to Genk and we get that type of money in. Hopefully we'll get a reasonable sell on as well, because they're a very good team at selling on players for 14 and 15 million to other leagues, etc. So I think that's a really sound move from our point of view to let him go and play some football.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to come on to next, is like the fee is, we're maybe making some money on it, even if you do factor the wages in. But where this deal could get really exciting for Celtic is the sell-on clauses that were so good normally it's sliding in, because Belgium is like a talent pool league, similar to Austria and Holland, where so many players can go there. And because it is like such a football-focused environment, Scotland isn't. I think we all know that. That's quite anti-football, especially if you play for Celtic. And at times, you don't really always have the best environment to actually progress your technical abilities, as it were. So it's a deal that moving to a team that I don't think they did that great this year, to be honest with you, off the top of my head. But a team that normally, or no, maybe actually they ran quite close in the end, didn't they, to the title?
They were in the championship. They were in the championship group, but I think maybe they fell into the sort of the European, like lower European place. I don't know if they qualified for like Europa or Conference League, but yeah, I mean, a team like that does pretty well, sort of up the top end in Belgium, and really develop a lot of talent. I mean, there's guys there like Bilal, Canus, Van der Voort's already away to Leipzig, which was agreed a while back, and they left them there on loan. So they're quite renowned at bringing guys on that go for good fees to good leagues, teams like Leipzig, etc. So pretty interesting move for Owen. I'm pleased for him as well. I think he is a real trier. Might not necessarily fit the way that Rodgers wanted to play or whatever. I don't know, but maybe just a wee bit unlucky as well that Edith's come in and done very well. So
yeah. And that's part of the kind of the balancing act of all this as well, is what does the O money now do? If we do get a couple of million sliced into the bank account all of a sudden, does that maybe make it easier for them to meet Norwich's demands? Or does it make it easier to meet maybe Benfica's demands or something like this? Because it is just then it's a nice wee bit of player trading as Celtic like to get up to if we get this deal over the line with selling O into Belgium. And it might be the first of a little cascade, because we do have like a raft of these players that are very much in the O camp, where we've profiled them as being halfway decent, and for one reason or another, they've not really worked out for us. And I'm thinking about the likes of Bernabe, obviously he's away on loan already, and like Kwon, all the names are escaping me now because there was absolutely
Lagerbielke.
Yeah. Yep. Kobayashi. And yeah, the list kind of goes on from there. So hopefully there's a nice kind of incoming, like I seen a report that Celtic are probably looking to spend like 35 million in this transfer window. We got a very similar report last summer, and the first question that always comes out of my lips when I see a report like that is it net or gross? Because knowing Celtic, it's going to be gross. It's not going to be net spend 35 mil. No chance at all. So 3.5, 4 million in for all. It's a good way on the way to getting like 15 million quid in with a few people maybe leaving. So good move. Like to see it. And say could very easily. This is another thing I wanted to ask you when we're on tonight, right? Because as we both know, could go to Belgium and probably score 15 goals for a team like that. It's not unconceivable. Imagine he was still in Korea and it was between us and them to sign him, because he is kind of still in that situation of being a raw third choice striker. Is he a guy that we really should be selling in that regard? I know the money's good and everything else we've just said. I'm totally all about that. But, imagine he does go there, scores 15 goals and then moves to somebody in France for like 18 million or somebody in Italy for 14 million. Are we all going to be turning around going, we should have gave another chance?
Yeah. I think that's where the safety net of the sort of resale stuff comes in, So like it's usually like a good percentage, but a percentage of profit. So you maybe say 25% or whatever, but it's not 25% of the whole fee. Maybe 25% of the uplift, So you get 25, not 20. Say you get 20 million for him, we sold him for 4 million. Then all of a sudden you get 4 million in. Which again, if somebody said just now you would get 6 or 7 million or whatever for all, you would say, well, right, okay, on you go type thing. So I think that it builds in that kind of that safety net that if you do sell somebody and they really explode or they really become valuable, or somebody in Saudi Arabia sticks a pin in and finds them from FIFA Ultimate Team and decides to sell them or whatever, that you're going to still be weighed in because you've got a wee bit of a percentage of his sort of economic rights or whatever. But and our thing as well is that, if Genk were happy to take him on loan, etc., then that's fair enough. But it's what we're probably not so good at is, maybe we have identified guys who are okay and will be good players, but do we have the whole setup for that? Because, we talked again at the end of the season about how we finished the season so strongly, but out of those lineups, apart from Ida, everybody was all there the season before. So we've got to have a think as a club about what we're doing with these signings as well, because we're bringing guys in and we feel as if we're investing well into these players, but do we have the environment where we can actually develop those players if the manager's not actually willing to play them in the team? So do we need another system? Do we need a system where we get them a wee bit earlier in their career and we've got a tie-in with somebody else so that we can go and get them first team football or whatever? I don't know. Maybe we're just at a stage where we've actually got cash, we're in the Champions League, and we should just be committing to be spending 7 and 8 million per player and just saying, right, actually see this guy we're going to sign. This guy's to replace Scales. Scales is the backup. We know what we've got with Scales. He's on a long-term contract. He can play left centre-back and left back. Let's go and get a guy who's a nailer that can play beside Carter Vickers. That's what I want to see us doing now. Because if we spend 35 million, there's no point buying 15 players at £3 million each. Like, realistically, that's the situation we're in just now. So, Jay's mentioned Matt O'Reilly. I mean, nobody really wants to think about that, but our transfer business has been ultra successful because we bought Jota, made a big uplift on him fee-wise. We were lucky with the Saudi Arabian thing, but a really good player. We have managed to bring in guys like Matt O'Reilly who have done really well. And you look at what we eventually spent on like Carter Vickers, for us to get an equivalent centre-back as good as him, it's going to be quite tough for that amount of money. So he's also been part of the recruitment or how we've put things together as well. And in that period, we've managed by the skin of our nose to be successful as well. So, let's see some quality coming in as Brendan describes it. That's what we want to see.
Yeah, no, I'm all about that. And I think with the one name, I'm kind of probably maybe talk goalkeepers first, but I guess we could talk defence, because when you say all that, the one name that I've seen is linked to that I thought really did resonate with that. And by the way, bottom of the screen, Norrie Boy Kearney has got breaking news for us. It looks like is done, and it's 4.2 million confirmed. So some breaking news on the show tonight, which is always good crack. But I've seen his linked. I referenced it earlier in the kind of intro of the show, but we've been linked to Danny Luic.
Danny Luic.
Danny Luic. There we go. Now, you'll maybe know a little bit more about him than I will, McBride, right? But I know as soon as I seen this link, the first place I jumped over to was Sorare data to go and have a look at his scores and his positional play, etc. And he played he only played right back basically for Salzburg, which got me scratching my head a little bit. Previously at Salernitana, at the bottom of Serie A, playing a bit of centre back and a bit of right back there as well.
Yeah.
And previously to that, we've obviously got Nice, which are a very, very well-renowned French team for bringing through young players, etc. He's only 23, and you can see the amount of appearances he's made across some top leagues in European football already. A wee bit of left back coming into this picture as well, as I see it again scrolling down. But when I see his link to a defender like this guy or Mepham, how do you Mepham? I'm thinking these guys have to be like Scales replacements. Surely they have to be Scales upgrades, because we're not surely seeking to upgrade on Carter Vickers with the contract we've given him and the status he's got at the team, as being vice captain and the fridge, So Danulic doesn't playing right back. Maybe he's ambidextrous, maybe plays with both feet or whatever, but that kind of threw a curveball to me.
I think I think he can play centre half as well. The reports on him are like, strong and quick. So that for me is a signing that makes sense, because if you do look at our defence, and particularly the kind of Scales and Taylor side, the mobility side of things is probably where we're lacking a wee bit. Carter Vickers has got pace, but obviously from his point of view, he's been hampered a wee bit with injuries, and you need somebody to play beside him. I think he would be a really exciting signing. Whether or not we see him as more of a fullback, I don't know. I mean, he is right-footed, so if he plays at left back, then I'd imagine that would only be cover. I don't know why we would sign a right-footed defender specifically to play at left back, if that makes sense. So I think he would be coming in to play centre-half with Carter Vickers, but I don't, from all the reports and everything I've seen of him, he's quick and he's quite strong and he's quite comfortable on the ball. So he's got that, it brings that sort of energy to the defence. And, I think that's the type of guy we need at centre-half for Celtic, because the problem, Scales is reasonably comfortable on the ball. I know he has his moments where he gives it away and everybody's getting on his back, but he's not been guilty of lots of errors leading to goals or anything. But where he really struggles is that mobility side of things. Like, remember the game we played against Motherwell away, where they had a strategy of we were pushing up and the guy Bear was just like spinning in, running behind him. You're going, bloody hell, Scales has turned like a cross-channel ferry. You're like, this is a problem. So if we want to play that high line or whatever, you need to bring in athletic defenders. So he's a centre half. I could see his signing, and Mepham has got previous experience of playing at centre half with Carter Vickers at Bournemouth, interestingly. So, not playing so much now, but he's got loads of caps for Wales. He's a kind of quite a sort of rangy type guy. He seems quite composed. So again, those are the types of signings which I think would make sense. None of them are left-footed, so but we've played with Starfelt and Vickers there, and if this guy Danilo or whatever comes in, as long as he's reasonably comfortable on his left foot, then I think the pace would be a big advantage. So yeah, I mean, if we do sign him, I think that's a good signing, because we need something a bit different in terms of the squad. And actually at the top level, when we're playing against all these sort of, real top level teams where they can just hurt you with their sort of pace or their technical ability, having somebody with a bit of recovery pace, a bit of energy would be really helpful. So
yeah, I think Danulic, like when you look at him, he does look like a kind of bigger and better the Rocky in some ways, but it's like how much value does the manager put on the symmetry of the right foot, the left foot centre back is definitely something to think about there. When it comes to Chris Mepham, we had a comment earlier saying from Celtic fan here, I agree completely with this sentiment, and I'm totally on board with what you're saying. But a good friend of mine, Harry Trades, is a Welshman, and he says like Mepham is like not quite a Premier League defender, but definitely way too good for like the Championship, for example. And that's kind of like a Carter Vickers and a few other guys that we've picked up and done very well with over the years, domestically and in Europe. So when Harry gave me that kind of review of the lad, I thought, okay, well, if we took him, I'll give him a chance on the basis of that. But Danulic or whatever, is definitely the sort of guy I'm excited to see us go for. And that's why I shake my head in dismay when I see these comments, because this is the kind of reality of the transfer business we've been doing for my lifetime, really. And if we do any more shit like sign Scott McKenna for this transfer window as our centre-back upgrade or whatever, it's not on. Like, it's just not on. I know he went to Copenhagen and played 2 minutes or something in a Champions League game or whatever, but it doesn't mean he's any better than the Scott McKenna that was at Aberdeen. And if we're not going to buy him from Aberdeen and watch him kind of trod along or whatever, like, there's nothing about him that's clearly better than Scales. And that's who we should be buying. It's someone that's clearly better and can upgrade, you know, the team entirely. So I hope to God that doesn't happen personally.
I think if you're going to ditch Lagerbielke and Novrocky, we've seen last season that you do need some options there. I mean, there's other dynamics as well. You've got this homegrown rule for, you know, like the Champions League, and we also are going to need a squad as well, because you referenced earlier you're playing 4 home games and 4 away games. I mean, in fact, I mean, it's 5,
yeah.
But there's more games in the Champions League. And so much so that we've ditched the winter break. So there's not going to be any winter break this season. We're going to play right through, because there's so many games, you can't fit everything in with the increased schedule. So from that perspective, if somebody says just now Lagerbielke's away to Lecce and Novrocky's taking a view on him, we've got our money back, then Scott McKenna would make sense as a free transfer, because he's going to be a guy who's coming in as a left-footed centre-back to compete with the other guys who are there. But as it stands just now, I don't know whether or not we actually need him. I'd rather see us buying a guy like Daneliuk or whatever, where, you know, he's a young kind of progressive profile, and he has played in Serie A, he's played for Salzburg, he's played France League One and everything before, and he's in the Austria squad for the Euros. So there must be something about him. Like, why would he be in the Austria squad, etc.? You know, unless he was one of the better defenders in their country, etc. as well. So pretty interesting. And you could, there's loads of different. Adam Nagalo is a cracking player. You know, North Island produces like loads and loads of good players, but yeah, he would be a really good signing. So yeah,
Hilgers took my eye. I'd take Hilgers, no problem.
Mies Hilgers, yeah, I think so. I mean, maybe we need to get out of our comfort zone a wee bit with a defender who, you know, it's hard because the Scottish League's got certain demands where you play against teams like maybe Livingston or Kilmarnock, or teams that don't have the budget, so they'll go for like a sort of a big physical type striker or whatever. So you bring a guy like Mies Hilgers or whatever, a guy who's done pretty well in the Dutch league and has certain qualities. And maybe in some of those games he would struggle a wee bit, but maybe he's the type of profile that we would need for, you know, Champions League games, etc. when you're playing against more technical teams or teams who are going to press you more or whatever. But it's interesting. I mean, it's hard to get your head around because there's so many different links, and you know, we'll come back to it with the goalie thing. But you know, I know it's affected you because of the link to Casteels, but you see somebody like that linked and you think he's really good and think he's going to start for Belgium, and you kind of get your heart set on that move happening, even though it's never been realistic because it's just a name that the media have picked out. And that's what you've got to be careful of with these windows, because, you know, every day there's 2 or 3 players linked to Celtic, and, you know, we're only going to sign a couple of players here. We're not going to sign all the players I've been linked with, but sometimes you'll get your heart set on that guy and think, yeah, he would be really good. Anyway, I bought them all in Sorare anyway, so every time they get linked, I just go and buy the rare or whatever, right? So I'm not taking that risk. But you can get your heart set on certain guys coming, and, you know, and it's a bit of disappointment. But some good names in there, and we'll see who we actually manage to pull through on.
Yeah. So beyond that, there's not been too much defensively that we've been linked to. You kind of touched on it with Danulik a little bit, but the need for a left back is still there, you know. But I don't think any of us really know what kind of left back we're going for. Are we going for someone that will replace Taylor, or is it someone that could replace Taylor? Because Taylor, again, very firmly embedded in the dressing room, in the club, etc., as being like a main guy, you know. So it'll be interesting to see what the ambition level is on the left back. But as of now, there is like no word, all quiet in the Western Front, really, when it comes to defence outside of Danulic and Mepham here. But you did bring up the goalkeepers, and the big one that we thought might be happening a few weeks ago on the channel, because we'd kind of called it in a roundabout way that it was a player we could have been linked with or been looking at. Quinn Casteels, he's made his signing. He will be free transferring for his big bag of money to Saudi land. So fair play to him. But since then, it's been Dubravka, it's been Vindal, it's been who was the other one? There was a few of them talking about. There was Vindal, there was Dubravka, and there was somebody along with Casteels. It's Kelleher. I think that's kind of went away now, Kelleher, because of the fee and stuff. But there was, yeah. I know you're a Vindal guy, and I guess we can maybe talk about Peter specifically, but
yeah,
I'm again similar to not quite the McKenna situ, but it feels like a level down of the raft of where we should be shopping for me, goalkeeper wise.
I don't know. I mean, it's one of those where people don't sort of know him, so maybe I'll explain a wee bit. So obviously through Sorare, like been on for like 4 years. At one point he was signed in Holland for AZ. He came in, he was about 24 at that point. He started off really well, and then he played on. AZ weren't really that good at the back, and eventually, you know, he moved on. He played a short spell, I think, in Bundesliga 2, and then he went on loan to Sparta Prague, and then they had the option. What happened with Sparta Prague was they had a goalkeeper, and the goalkeeper moved on. They brought in Vindal, and he had a really good season. So all reports are that he's done like very well. They won the league. They had a good run. I think they put Rangers out as well. They get gubbed by Liverpool, but you know, he's got experience playing against like, you know, Dynamo Zagreb, Rangers, Galatasaray, Liverpool, all that type of stuff. He's previously been in the international squad and everything before. I think this one makes sense. I mean, when they signed him, he was a player who was going for 1.52 million. They've signed him on loan and they've triggered it, so they want to sign him for the fee or whatever. But again, the fee they had agreed was similar to what AZ paid, which means that if Celtic go in with a couple of million, actually they'll be making an immediate profit, which is quite interesting. But he's a good goalkeeper, like, and I know that like people will maybe doubt that because they don't know him, etc. But he's 27, so he's a good age for a goalkeeper. 26, 27, 26. He's a good shot stopper, and he's reasonably comfortable on the ball as well. So, you know, he's not going to come in and he's going to be that guy that's a Joe Hart, that's a leader in the dressing room, I don't think, unless he's got some sort of personal ability that nobody really is sure about. I don't think he's a captain or whatever, but I'd take him. I honestly would take him. The other link was Dubravka. That was just a load of crap. There's no way that Celtic were interested in Dubravka. The reason we were linked with Dubravka is because Newcastle were quite close to securing James Trafford, and all of a sudden somebody in the media down there thought, oh well, Joe Hart's away, we're going to link Dubravka to Celtic, and then everybody's all talking about Dubravka. And he is a good goalkeeper, there's no doubt about it, but he's 35, he's on EPL wages. It's just not a signing that makes sense to us. He's not even on a free, so you'd have to pay a few million for him, plus his EPL type wages. I just don't see it, although he is a good goalkeeper. So if that's the line we decided to go down, there's no doubt that he would be good enough. But in 2 years' time, you're back in Joe Hart's situation again. I don't know. So, yeah, I think I would take Vindal. I had him on Sorare anyway. I had him for the Sparta Prague games, so I'm biased, right? But you know, I watched him in those games against Rangers, and he was pretty good in those games as well. He done well, so I don't see any real reason why we should be put off by that if that's who we've really sort of scouted or feel as if he's the right type of goalkeeper that Rodgers wants in. Because bear in mind that we might think, okay, we're linked with, for example, Etienne Vassen, who's a good big goalkeeper, who's a good shot stopper, but you know, Rodgers is going to want somebody that's involved in the build-up. So, you know, you have to get the right type of goalkeeper in, and also he's played for Sparta Prague and they're a dominant team, so that fits in well with what we're doing because he's playing in a team that's used to being successful and winning. He just won the league over there, and those are all elements that I like. So there we go.
Michael Ross is asking if he saved 4 penalties in Europe last season. If he did, it must have been in a penalty shootout, because over the last 5 years of these statistics, he's only saved 3 penalties, period, for Sparta Prague in Europe. So it must have been a penalty shootout if that happened. And maybe right. The thing that stops me with Vindal, right, and like I said in a tweet, like, if we do sign him, I've got pretty good confidence because of everything you've said, that he's not going to be bad. He'll probably be pretty handy. But I do feel kind of scarred from Barkas. He's very similar to Barkas in that regard of, like, he's not played in a top 5 league. He's not necessarily an out-and-out international. He's not really got, I know he's got some Europa League runs here, fine, but he's not like get Champions League experience to some extent. I want to see us bring guys to the team, especially for the goalkeeper position, that's similar to Joe Hart, are coming from the level that we want to get to. Forget Joe Hart's age for a second, but somebody like a goalkeeper, key centre-backs. You know, I even made a bit of a shout saying we should maybe try and go get Coutinho. That was before his contract was annulled with Aston Villa. They were trying to get 6 million for him about a month ago. But, you know, you want guys in vital positions that do lift the team in some ways. Sometimes it's just through their raw ability, but for some positions like experience, know-how, these kind of things, like it's not talent is maybe a lesser factor than, great experience. But I do think his experience is good, and like you say, with age and some of the stuff he's been up to, like, he's definitely not a bad guy to be linked to. I would definitely be taking him over Dubravka. Again, I very much echo what you say. I think he's a good goalkeeper. His goalkeeper, good for making saves and all that kind of thing. But at the age and the money and all the rest of it, like, it's just, if he is on the list, he's got to be the last one on the list. Like, if we cannot get anyone else, like, we cannot be starting Siegrist or Bain, I'm taking Dubravka over one of them. But that's kind of where I'm at with Gio Dubravka.
I like Siegrist. Like, honestly, like, I'm a bit surprised that he's not really done so well at Celtic, because I always really, really liked him at Dundee United. But anyway, that's, maybe that ship's sailed type thing. But again, it's only my own estimation, and it's hard to make these estimations. But I think that Vindal is a better goalkeeper than Barkas. I know that's not saying a lot, but I think that although Barkas had these international appearances for Greece and everything, he had a certain style, and it just didn't really sort of work out type thing. But I think this guy's better. He's got quite a good sort of range. He's quite I think he's a good shot stopper. So you think about the things that maybe we struggled with a wee bit. Joe Hart struggled a bit with, like, mobility, so he started conceding a few goals from a bit further out, where he wasn't moving his feet quickly enough, and he's always that issue. But I don't think this guy would have those types of sort of issues. And we should be a wee bit nervous about it. There's always risks, right? When you bring somebody in, he could be a really good goalkeeper. He comes in, he just, doesn't adapt, or, he finds it hard playing under that pressure of 60,000 fans, or adapting to the Champions League, or there's loads of variables and stuff to it. But I like his profile. I think at 27, he's ready for it. And, we're probably not in a land where we want to spend a lot of money on, like, a really young goalkeeper in terms of the overall model that we've got, because it's an experienced position. You need somebody who has a safe pair of hands, like, literally. So at 26, 27, and having the other experience he's got, I would be okay with that. But some of the rumours, I think, have just been sort of pie in the sky stuff. Kelleher, everybody would love Kelleher, but when Alisson was out, Klopp was really sort of bumming him up, and brilliant number 2 and all that sort of stuff. And he's going to be what, to go and maybe play for our EPL team or whatever. If not, can we afford him? Doubt it. So that's the problem, isn't it?
Last thing I'll say on Vindal, sorry to maybe spoil the party or burst the bubble, but I've got somebody in my members chat. So I've got a members thing on my channel, and we've got a Telegram group. Telegram's kind of like WhatsApp, if you don't know it. And he's from the Czech Republic, and he said that there's none of this Vindal to Celtic chat in the Czech Republic whatsoever. So again, take that with a wee pinch of salt, but maybe it's just one of those ones similar to the Castiles, where some people are crossing the T's and dotting the I's. And Jay brought up a great point that one of the teams in Belgium, was at Leuven, did that old trick to us where they signed Jack Hendry for like £2 and then sold him to Bruges for 3 million. Yeah. And there's been a few moves like that across Europe over the time. So I wouldn't rule it out that we would get him because of that. I think if anything, it's maybe Sparta Prague's interest to seal that deal like that and flip a guy after a good European run that they've had. You know, puts them in the shop window for some clubs.
Remember the morning we woke up and we had signed Furuhashi? Now, I had not seen one single rumour anywhere that Celtic were interested in Furuhashi. I hadn't seen it. I was in shock. It was like, and I knew who it was, obviously, because we had him in Vissel Kobe and Sorare, and we've signed Furuhashi. So, like, you know, the fact that somebody's not heard about it, and I don't care about that. Like, you know, well, it's not from Sorare point of view I want it to sign, because now I've obviously nailed my hat to the mast and I've bought some rares and stuff. But like, I think he'd be good. So if he signs, I'll be pretty happy with that. The other name we were linked with earlier was Kakia. Again,
and Binder.
I'm losing a bit of confidence with Kakia and Binder. Firstly, Binder's went to Man United. He's obviously on a big wage. Don't think we were going to be signing somebody like that. I mean, he's probably on 100 grand a week or whatever. Like, he's Man United wages, so just forget about it, right? Like, I just don't see that happening. Kakia can't get a game for Turkey now. So he's been displaced for Turkish national team, which, you know, it doesn't mean he's not a good goalkeeper, but it's still a bit of a concern, right? Because the rumour was they wanted 7 or 8 million for him. They're going to go and pay 7 or 8 million for a guy who's actually lost his place for the Turkey national team. I don't know. I don't know if he's as good as maybe people sort of make out. So we'll see. But, you know, the way transfers go, we could wake up tomorrow and we've signed Joe Blogs. That's the reality of it. Like, we've loads of times happened in the past where the media have not got wind of it or whatever. So unless we get inside Parkhead and we see that short list up on the wall and we've got evidence of it, we're just partly speculating, right? But it'd be good to get a goalkeeper in soon, because the Euros are starting. It feels like we're ages away, but we're no miles away from pre-season training. So,
like, sign Big Joe for another year. Is that Joe Blogs or Joe Hart? I wonder. But with Binder, I would, you know, if it was good for a loan or something, maybe. But again, I don't think we want to be entering into any temporary situations. But I make you right. If you're on a Man United wage, you're just not coming to Celtic straight off the bat without taking a severe pay cut. No two ways about it. But there's still definitely some guys in and around Europe that we could be going for. I know of a good few goalkeepers, especially in La Liga, that are kind of moving about and could be available for a team like us if we're going to go looking for them. We've already spoke about them on our streams and our channel, so I won't bore anyone with just repeating it or whatever on that one. But yeah, so I think like it has been quite quiet on the Western Front. The O'Deal going out is definitely the big one. We've had the links, like we said, to Danulic, Mepham, some of the goalkeepers that we've been chatting about. But one of the names that does kind of keep coming back in this transfer window, it's kind of still unfinished business, is Paulo Bernardo, who, like we mentioned O'Reilly there. I think some people believe that Bernardo is like the club's cheap way of replacing O'Reilly at the flip of a switch if he was to be sold for mad mega money. But, you know, for me, like, Bernardo's good for what he did last year. I don't think you can ask more of him. I don't think you can ask him to be a guy who plays 30, 40 games for us and continues the level of output that we've seen in spells, because it was only in spells. Because I just think, like, from what we've seen of him when he has started, he's not quite as, you know, obviously as good as O'Reilly, and he's not quite got that kind of style of play, that kind of playmaker element that Tate has. So he doesn't really, I think, distinctly do anything in midfield. He does everything kind of decent, you know, but he doesn't really like give us something.
Well, he did in the last minute against Rangers in the cup final, Quinny. I mean,
I know,
like,
fair.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I think what we forget about Bernardo as well is he's only 21, I think. So, you know, he's still pretty young. So what I like about him is it seems that he really wants to come here and play. Roger seems to like him. It's a low risk because we've seen what he can do and what he can't do, and I'm not sure that like going and paying this sort of agreed fee of this sort of 6 million or whatever would be the right deal for him. But if we can batter that down a couple of million, maybe even if they do want a sell-on clause like we do with other teams, etc., then I would take him. He's definitely got something about him, and he is a young guy, so he's definitely somebody who could still from here improve. And also, sometimes we're a bit unfair in these players as well, because like it's just going through my mind when you're flicking through all these games. These guys are coming on and they're getting limited minutes. Like, what would he be able to do if you gave him 10, 15 games in the team and just actually said, right, you're in that main role now, and give him the freedom to build himself up and play? Because a lot of these guys come in and out, and then you're expecting them to be world beaters. So I would sign him if we can get the deal done. I mean, if we get him on similar amounts to what we're getting out for O, then great. I know that we've already got Bernardo there, so it doesn't add to anything we had last season, but I would definitely take him. And he is a guy, just looking at the chat, if disaster strikes and we lose O'Reilly, we do need guys like that in the midfield. But I feel like if we lose O'Reilly, you're going to have to sign somebody that's capable of getting you 10 goals and 10 assists or whatever, because if 18 goals and 18 assists last season or whatever, that's a huge gap to plug in your midfield. So
yeah, I'm totally with you on that. And I echo Stephen Kennedy's thoughts here that this should be the biggest transfer window we've had, you know, in terms of importance and hopefully with spend that we've had really since the Martin O'Neill era, I would say. But on the kind of Bernardo thing, what kind of always slows me down with him, and I'm spot on like with you all the way on this one, mate. Again, 6 million's way too expensive for me, but yeah, 2, 3, 4 million at a push, yeah, bring it on. I don't mind that at all. But if we couldn't negotiate a deal with Benfica that we'd be happy with, we do have a few guys in our ranks kind of hovering around that have maybe been somewhat forgotten about, that have had little moments of success that might signal they get some sort of Liam Scales-esque opportunity in pre-season, and then who knows what happens. Prime suspect for that would also be a potential Irish international, and that is Bosun Lawal, who, for those of you that don't really keep up with the international scene, he was invited into the Ireland senior setup after playing some youth stuff. He didn't get on the pitch or make the bench, I don't think, or anything like that, but brought up into the Ireland senior setup in the last international window. And he's a guy that Celtic are already on the record as saying we want him back, we want to see him train, and we want to see what he can do as a midfielder, since we didn't realise that's the position he played when we signed him.
There's a surprise, eh? Oh, he's a big guy. Why don't we play him as centre half? Yeah, I mean, it looks as if he's done pretty well down there. I wouldn't take that view that, oh, it's only League One or whatever, because that's where Matt O'Reilly came from as well, right? You know, so yeah. League One, League Two, pretty competitive leagues. From Celtic's point of view, when you've got these guys, if you can get them out on a loan like that and get them first team football and let them develop, then that's definitely the way ahead, I think. He looks like he's a kind of box-to-box midfielder, and to be perfectly honest, somebody in there with a bit of legs is something we're missing, I think. I mean, even Bernardo's young, etc., and he did pretty well for that goal in the final. Just reliving that in my head there, busting by somebody, but that's not his game, if you know what I mean. Whereas, from what I can see, Lowell looks quite energetic. So, and it's a good compliment for him to be going to the 21s and becoming involved in the Irish setup, because you know Ireland have got some pretty decent players at the moment as well. Adam Ida, you know, guy Troy Parrott, who was over, and they've got good players in other positions, midfield, etc. as well. So to be invited in's a good compliment for him. So yeah, why not? I mean, you've got to take a look at the guy in pre-season. If you don't think he's anywhere near the team, in the same situation maybe with Odin Home, etc., just make sure they go back out and they get football, and they're not just sitting there like just decaying on the bench or whatever, you know. Get Odin Home back to Norway or whatever, and you know, get him some games. Like, try and find a way to let the guys develop. But we've seen other players who've come and their first season's not been great, and they've taken to it after they've settled. So I wouldn't write off anybody at this point, honestly.
Yeah, I get those kind of Scales pre-season vibes, just with like there's a bit of Scales was on loan at Aberdeen. I don't think there was necessarily let's get this guy a look in the team. You know, it's kind of an accident, obviously, but I just got that kind of vibe. Also, as well, Q or Quan Q. Just try to think, what would we actually call him? Because it's not Q. Quan, that's what we call him. Quandary, of course, Quandary. It's a joke on Rodri, the Man City player, for any that didn't catch that one. But Again, I think St Mirren really want him back on loan, and I think there's been other inquiries from some other teams elsewhere. I forget what the reports were. And again, I think there is a bit of a vibe from Celtic that they're not in a rush to decide what to do with him just yet. And again, from the very little we've seen of him at St Mirren, and the even less that we've seen of him at Celtic, like profile-wise, he's not that dissimilar to Bernardo. You know, a big, rangy kind of centre mid that will kind of go box to box and do some different bits and bobs. So I think between Kwon and Lawal, I'm open to be surprised in our midfield depth for somebody that could be somewhat useful compared to what we thought. And then maybe this is the year we get Odin home as loan to St Mirren or Hibs or whatever, because that kid needs minutes undoubtedly at this point. But great comment here from Stephen Kennedy. Maybe it is still maybe a wee bit early for Lawal. Maybe we get him a second loan, depending on where his place would be in the squad. If we sign Bernardo, then yeah, I think loaning Lawal out for another year and just keeping tabs on him would be prudent. But yeah, I think that those were just some guys as well floating around that I thought, you know, they could actually become a, you know, that's kind of scales figure, you know, into next season where you think they were nowhere near the plans or the reckoning, and then all of a sudden they're on the bench every week, getting 20 minutes most weeks, or, you know, starting the rotation game. Because like you say, the fixture pile-up will be brutal, especially when we get to winter.
Yeah, I think Lawal maybe will offer something that we're not got in abundance in midfield as well, because as much as Hattie and O'Reilly, etc., good players, you
Power.
having a bit of legs, a bit of recovery. You know, if we're playing these games where we want to push up, we want to control the ball, etc., then sometimes you've got to do something going the other way, and particularly you're playing against top level teams. Sometimes those teams can be quite clever. Dare I say it? Lazio, you know, we played Lazio. I think we were the better team over both of the games, and we lost both of them. Maybe really unfortunate to lose at home, but that's the type of quality you're playing against. You can't, you just get like, you just get punished for making mistakes. So having those guys who can give you a bit of recovery in the way back, can maybe save you in some of those situations. And, you know, Callum McGregor has had this kind of Achilles thing now. He's away with Scotland, and he was talking about how, you know, maybe he was going to be out for the season, and he pushed himself to get back and all that type of stuff. And he's the other side of 30, etc. So we need to think at some point we can just trot him out every 3 days and just expect him to be the Duracell bunny. You know, you might have to have an understudy in there where you say, right, Lawal's coming on for the last half an hour, or we've played away in the Champions League, we've got a home game here, right, Callum, you shout people for the bench, you're there if you need it, that type of thing, you know. So it'd be nice to have those options there, and not guys that are sitting like Giacomakis saying, oh, I want to play, so I'm off-ski. So that's the advantage you get when you've got a Lawal, you know, maybe he'll be a bit more patient. So
yeah, exactly. So you kind of see his role in the team. And we've had a few guys that have been willing understudies for a while. You know, even O'Reilly, when he first came in, was understudy to Moy, who, you know, would all just replace Rogic with and everything as well. So some players don't mind saying, okay, well, I just need to beat that guy and I'm in the team. Bring it on, you know, and I'll bide my time. I'll take my chance when it comes, kind of thing.
Definitely, yeah.
So yeah, players that are motivated, we're all about that, no matter how it comes. I'm just trying to think, maybe if there's anything else to kind of pick up and run with, in terms of what we've missed, what's been kind of going on, and who we've been kind of linked and spoken to about.
Ida, I suppose, like, you know, I'd really like to see him coming back, obviously, not just because of cup final goal, but I think he showed at the end of the season he gave us another option. Like, I remember the game against Kilmarnock, we played brilliant, but he was really kind of heavily involved in the build-up play as well. We changed tactics. We were, you know, trying to avoid their press and playing up to him with the link-up and things. So in an ideal world, if you're going to lose O, you want to be using a chunk of that to get Ida in. That's what I would have thought, but don't know. Maybe we've made a huge error by not having some sort of buyout in that loan contract. Maybe it's an unrealistic fee. I don't know.
Great catch here from Nicholas. Hopefully Darren O'Day identifies a clear path for these players to the first team. That's the man's job, Nicholas. So well remembered on that one. But yeah, it's all going to be on Darren O'Day's shoulders. Where these guys go on loan, do they play? Do they develop? You know. So
you'll have his football manager opened, like it's like where am I going to send them? Oh, Austria. Like,
yeah. Well, apparently the lads we sent to Austria, I don't know if that team got promoted, but one of the lads we sent over there got into team of the season in Austria Bundesliga 2 which I know isn't any huge shakes in the grand scheme of things, but it's definitely much better than playing like the B team, Lowland League and Highland League stuff. So
Yeah.
I just want to check if Admira Wacker got promoted or anything. No, I don't think they did. They finished 6th, so no promotion for them. Just a wee thought that came to me there. I thought I would check out. But yeah, I think Ida, I was kind of like, I'm all about signing Ida. I think like we know him, we've seen him. He works for like at least 80% of what we need him to do. We've not seen Europe yet from him. The fee was the one thing before like the end of the season where I was like, yeah, 6 million, 7 million, 8 million feels a wee bit too pricey for a guy like this. But really now, having seen him in his full entirety throughout the season or whatever, like especially with the money we're making on O, I really wouldn't quail at it. You know, I think like you want some business done, you want some positions checked off quick enough, and you want as many known success stories as you could possibly get your hands on. You know, guys that you know will come in, do the job that they've been asked to, and he's pretty much, along with Bernardo in a different example, but it's pretty much the only guy you could do that with this summer, and it's a key vital position.
Yeah.
So I would kind of spend the money within reason.
Yeah, I think the problem is that in England the transfer fees are just different, and even like you look at the Championship, there's a lot of guys that leave the Championship and they go for really quite big fees, and we look at it and we go, that's a lot of money. But in this window, 6, 7, 8 million is not a lot of money, particularly after you've got
O's 4. O's
What?
4.
I know.
O's 4 million.
And
It's got to be 8, hasn't he? Or 7 or 6. That's got to be easier to swallow now.
And we benefited from it because we got the money in from Jota, but what the dynamic in the market is, you guys like an EPL and they'd be on big wages, right? And there would be big fees and there would be no exit for them. What's happening now is you've got even guys like Jordan Henderson at 32 going for 30 million to Saudi Arabia and all that type of stuff. So there's money coming into the game and there's money slushing about. So you might not get away with saying I'm buying Adam Ida as an international player, done very well with us. He's a striker. What's the real sort of negative? He's quite young, and then we say we're not paying 8 million for him, and Norwich go, well, get up, you. You're not getting him. So, like, you know, if we want him, then maybe we're going to have to pay the fee. And like £8 million on one player is not a lot of money for a Champions League team that's making 40, 50 million guaranteed for being in. And if we need to shift some of these guys out to help fund it or whatever, that's fair enough. But we shouldn't really be that bothered about paying 8 million for a guy that's his age. You know, he's not 35. Like, you know, it is what it is. So if it takes 8 million or if it takes 5 or 6 million with some potential add-ons or whatever, just stop haggling and just go and get him, you know? Like, you know he wants to come, you know it's worked, you know he's done well at the end of last season. It's not as high a risk as paying 8 million for Joe Bloggs, a vicious from wherever that ends up being a disaster like a Barkas. So
yeah, Hercules here, bang on the money here. We did know all about this ages ago. Somebody could have and should have maybe been lined up so that we don't even need to talk about this for a minute. And Celtic fan who's been on great form in the chat tonight. By the way, guys, across all platforms, there's over 800 of you tuning in tonight. So thanks very much to all you that are spending your evening with me and McBride. We really appreciate it. Fist bump. We're on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and maybe somewhere else, I forget. But thanks to everyone that is tuning in. And England is a totally wrong market. I'm not quite there because I do think that I know the money associated with everything is like way out of scope for us in so many ways. But without doubt, like in so many of forget even the Premier League, like you had even mentioned there, McBride, with the Championship, there's a lot of players in the Championship that would make our team a lot better and probably could do a good shift, like Champions League level for us. You know, I don't think we should be overlooking it, but it has to be kind of the right deal and it has to be sensible. It can't be funny money because, again, like the chat saying, we've got money. We don't want to waste it. We're not just throwing it around. But I say with Ida, I would be a wee bit more frivolous or a wee bit more liberal with the checkbook because we know him. We've seen him. He fits. He works. You know, like it's just, you don't need to, it's not like buying O for 8 million. And you're like, who's this guy? Is he going to be any good? What's going to happen with Kyogo or whatever? You know, it raises questions. Whereas him, it's just like, cool, we've got him. Throw him into the team. Let's get ready to rock for next year. And now let's go get this left back or this goalkeeper or whatever it is we need to fill out with, sort of thing. So I agree. We definitely want to be shopping in other places. But this is maybe one thing I wanted to throw at you when we're on tonight, right? And we'll make this maybe one of the last things since we're in transfer mode and goalkeepers and whatnot. But a guy that certainly me, and I think you as well, has kind of often thought maybe we could go and get him. Now, this guy does not really fit the profile for a lot of the stuff I've been kind of harping on about tonight, right? But as we know, with signing guys from far-flung reaches of the world, senior internationals, senior international caps, etc., helps with work permits and all that other kind of good stuff. And a guy that me and you know really, really well got his first senior international cap this window, and that is Kosei Tani, who came on for the last like 20 minutes of Japan versus Syria or something like that. I don't know why he got that cap. I don't know why the manager made a sub in the 75th minute of a goalkeeper in a game that they were winning, but it wasn't like a mad scoreline. It wasn't like 10-0 or anything daft. But when I seen that, I thought, great, he's got his cap, but I wonder if there's an economic incentive behind this cap, because we have seen national teams do that from time to time, get guys into Olympic squads or senior squads just so that they can film a work permit quota to make a transfer happen. Kosei Tani, nay?
I think it'd be a good signing. I don't know if that would be the strategy of the number one, but if we go with we'll bring in a guy and we'll let him develop, then that would be a good shout. I mean, I guess if you're shopping in that sort of region, you'd imagine you'd maybe get him for a couple of million. And from that point of view, it's far better than having to rely on Scott Bain. You buy the best goalkeeper in the world and trips over his knee 2 months in, and that's you're in Scott Bain territory. So yeah, I would be behind getting somebody like that. I mean, I think you've seen guys like Zian Suzuki going to Belgium and doing very well. Now he's been linked with Man United and the like. So if we could go and get that type of talent, that would be good. And there is a bit of a chance that maybe Sagres goes. So maybe we will be looking for two goalkeepers, and that would fit our model in terms of obviously bringing him in to be part of the goalkeeping team. So yeah, I would be all for that. But whether or not he's ready at his age to handle the pressure of being number one for Celtic, I don't know. Yeah. That would be a huge risk, right? So
yeah, definitely. Champions League would be certainly unknown and all the rest of it. But he's going into, is this his 4th or 5th season of senior football? He's 23 years of age, already made 116 appearances. Generally at teams at the bottom end of the table. This season, his team is flying high down to some of his performances. He's been doing great this year for a team that just got promoted. He's on loan at from Gamba Osaka, who are generally one of the more institutionally big teams in Japan, although they've been quite rubbish for a while. So yeah, this is a guy I've always wanted us to maybe, when we had Hart in the building, I think he'd have been a great signing to kind of understudy with and then maybe progress into. But yeah, that just came to mind again. I thought just when I seen this comment from Celtic fan about where to shop, I thought, oh yeah, Japan goalkeepers, Tani, of course.
I think we should have. I think we should have done something in January. I mean, like, you're not going to get a guy to come in and just say I'm not going to play for 6 months. But it really, if these dynamics were seemed as if we're trying to get Siegrist out, we should have made a move. And actually, there's been pretty good free agents that have been in the market that we could have went and secured. And that was the thing with Casteels. Casteels knew he was going from very early doors because Wolfsburg signed Grabera on a pre-contract and was like, right, okay, Casteels is going to be leaving. And I think the Wolfsburg fans were quite disappointed with that. So if we were going to go and look to secure somebody like Casteels, we should have done it months ago before Saudi Arabia got involved and seen he was in the Belgium squad and things. So who knows? I mean, we've said this before in January, but we've got to give the benefit of the doubt until we see whether the biscuit tin actually opens or not. And if it doesn't open, then we can come on here and we can all go taunt and all the usual stuff that we say. But just as a bit worrying just now that we haven't managed to kind of nail down that position. Just get sort of thinking, am I going to have to pull on my gloves and run on here? And we've not got a goalkeeper. That we have got goalkeepers, but we've not got a number one guy who we would want to say, right, he's the guy for the next 2 or 3 years, that type of goalkeeper. So we'll see.
On Twitter, we're at Seltzer here. I am Quinny 3001. This is at MacBrideAce. And I think that's probably all she wrote for us, McBride. I think we're firmly on the same page with a lot of stuff. But Still, we need to see some actual concrete developments. I think, we've had a good little supporters club session tonight, despite the lack of concrete stuff to kind of catch up on. Maybe the benefit of not being around for a week or two, we've got plenty of half threads to pull on and think about.
Yes.
And again, the live chat has been absolutely popping, guys. It's been on fire. If you're watching this on YouTube, the likes really do mean a lot to us. So before you head off to go watch whatever you're doing for the rest of tonight, please do hit the like button. If you're on Facebook or Twitter, likes and shares and retweets and all that good stuff goes a long way to supporting the channel. And we'll be back next week. I'm sure we'll have the podcast back next week as well on the Celtics Are Here channel. And I might get back to cranking a wee video or two out once in a while. We didn't even talk about the Euros really, McBride, which I thought we might have ended up killing some time with. But I guess we'll save that for the aftermath more than anything. Maybe we'll see how many goals Rowson gets.
Yeah, you've got a huge game tomorrow night. Like, I know some people do like international football and some don't. I mean, I'm not a huge Scotland fan or anything, but when you see the Euros coming up, then I just get a bit overwhelmed with patriotism and see all these people with the freedom stuff. Freedom, I'm looking forward to tomorrow night. It's a couple of Guinness, chilling, get a takeaway in. The game's on the telly. Everybody's all getting involved in it. Feels as if everybody really tomorrow feels big day. That day when we had Scotland against Brazil in the World Cup, remember, where everybody, it was as if everything stopped and everybody was all of a sudden interested in football. So it feels like one of those occasions. I'm definitely going to enjoy it. So.
Yeah, that Brazil game is one of my prominent early football memories because it was mad. Like, we are playing Brazil, and, it was a tight game. It was a tight game for a long period of it, So
yeah, definitely.
Hopefully, I back us. I think this is a draw. This game, I think we're going to get a 2 each. I think we're going to have a banana skin result, but I don't think we can beat them. So I think we get a nice wee 2 each draw.
Yeah, I think it's a tough one because we're in Germany. I know we've got a good following, but. Germany maybe a bit underrated at the moment, but so guys like Tony Kroos, Havertz, a great season. They've got quality all over. We remember we've got quality, so maybe we need to play in the fact that there's a lot of pressure on them, and maybe we go into it and we can do our stuff. So I hope we cause an upset, but I think realistically might not define the group right. We get good results against Hungary and Switzerland, and some third place teams go through and everything. The target is to progress, but hope everybody enjoys it anyway because it'll be a good occasion. And kind of last Euros, Scotland against England. Okay, we don't want to celebrate a draw because we know that some other teams celebrate draws, but I thought we played pretty well in that game as well, and the draw down at Wembley and stuff. So it's good to be part of it and hopefully give a good account of ourselves and give us a chance.
Love it, guys. Yeah. I'm all about that. Let's have it, guys. Enjoy the game wherever you're watching it, and we'll catch you on the next one. One hoops.